What's up everyone, Michael here with an early impressions of Forza Motorsport 6 Apex Edition. I am currently playing it on the PC, which means I have two kind of big disclaimers I want to go off right now. Now for one, the video might look a little bit blurry, like the resolution looks off or something like that, and that's because I actually have to capture the game in windowed mode. The game has a huge number of technical issues on PC. The technical side of this game is an absolute nightmare right now, and so I have to run it in windowed mode to even capture the damn thing. And you'll notice that I decided to kind of convenience you guys and just cut off the black bars that it's going to give me and everything like that, so it's just kind of like slightly blown up to 1080. It shouldn't look too bad, especially through YouTube, but it might look a little bit more blocky and just not quite as crisp. And I'm also having to run the game on medium settings instead of high quality, which I got the game to run on high quality without recording, but recording takes, you know, memory and all that other type of stuff, and I can't quite run it on high. The game isn't very optimized yet, which is unfortunate, which leads into my second disclaimer of this is a beta, and so everything you see may be incomplete, you know, content may be missing, which I guarantee both of those are the thing. And the game actually just got an update this morning as the time I'm recording that actually added a bunch of different options and things like that, which is actually pretty nice for when I started recording, because the game, you just saw it stutter a little bit there. The game used to be stuttering like crazy when I recorded, and it seems like they fixed some of that. I don't know if that's just because some of the settings I was able to change allowed me to get higher performance, or if that's actually something they did in the back end. And oh my god, that was a beautiful drift. Come on, go, go, go. Alright, sweet. So, first off the bat, let's actually talk about the game, because that is probably why you're watching this video. I like to start off with gameplay, so I decided to go straight into a free race and kind of show off, you know, some of the higher caliber racing. Now, this doesn't look as beautiful as it should, because I'm not running it technically at 60. I'm going between 30 and about 45 here. So it doesn't run particularly well, and I'll get more into that later. But if you've ever played a Forza game, or let's say any other simulation type of racing game, you probably know exactly how this game plays. Now I'm playing with a controller. I would not recommend playing this with a keyboard, especially since it is a simulation game, unless you can tap a key extremely fast for micro movements, because this game has a huge emphasis on micro movement, and that is kind of the simulation aspect of it. You know, every single little thing you have that you control has physics applied to it. And so if you've ever played any of the other Forza games, like I love Forza games, and I haven't been able to play a lot of the recent ones because they're on console and I don't have console. But your main goal is going to be, you know, stay on the track and don't go off the track, because there are physics to everything. You know, your wheels spin and things like that, and you can actually hydroplane in this game, which is freaking incredible. There are weather maps. I'll try showing one of those later. They are very performance heavy, which is why I didn't start my recording off on it, because I just wanted to make sure I had at least some footage that was seeable. And so yeah, so it is a simulation racing game, which means that you're going to be racing down the tracks, and it is a very much more professional take on this type of stuff. And so it's not like your, you know, street racing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, yep. We're good. Don't spin out, don't spin out, don't spin out. Okay, cool. Now, if I had all my difficulty settings up, that I would have just spun out right there, and that would have sucked. But it is going to be more realistic style. Now, this is probably the first Forza game that I've played that has actually more arcadey elements. Not in the driving. The driving is very much simulation. You'll probably watching this and be like, this doesn't look realistic at all. And that's because I have a bunch of assists on, which is actually quite popular within the Forza franchise. And I believe it was since the very first one. I started Forza 2, so I don't necessarily know if this is a thing that was always there. But you can actually change the difficulty of the driving and kind of turn on and off physics and ABS and things like that, so you can actually make the game more difficult for yourself. And I went towards that real too fast. Oh shit. I also have freaking damage turned off, because doing something like that would kill your engine, and then you would basically be screwed. But you do have like simulation damage and stuff like that as well. You can turn on. They just spun out and I just went past them as I was stuttering. That's cool. So yeah, it plays like you would expect. It plays like a Forza game, and it feels pretty good when it runs well, I will say. Like, I love racing games. I really, really do. I have a ton of racing games. I don't play them very often because, quite frankly, on PC, there's not very many good ones. And I like the career aspects of a lot of them, which a lot of ones on PC are more focused on the simulation stuff. Like, simulator racing games on PC are not an uncommon thing. This is probably one of the better ones that I've actually played, though. Now, there are a few I haven't picked up just because of their price point, and they kind of like get expensive and stuff like that, and I don't have a racing wheel or anything like that, so I do have to play with a controller. Which brings me into actually what the game offers. Now, I did say I like that career element. This one doesn't have that, unfortunately. I remember in Forza 4, I believe it was the last one that I actually truly like played to a good extent. I loved the kind of customization you got with your cars and all this other type of stuff. Now, currently in the Apex beta, you actually don't have a lot of that. Now, I have read... Now, information on this game is extremely hard to find for their development, so I don't necessarily know exactly what they're planning to add, but they have kind of released small little bits, and I did read that they are adding into custom decals, which was a huge thing in Forza 4, and I think Forza 3 is when they introduced it, and that's when I first saw it. And that's not quite in the game, so if we go to... Oops, not tours. I want to go to free play so I can show you the car customization real quick. So we can go to paint car. So you can actually paint your cars and stuff like that, and you get a huge selection of cars as well. There's actually a surprising amount of cars that you can have. So you got special paints, you got your manufacturer default, and then you got normal colors as well. And you can also kind of fine-tune the color as well. So I can go in here and I can do the hue and stuff like that. So let's say I want my stereotypical teenager green car. Let's go ahead and brighten that up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, reminds me of my teenage days of when I was drinking Monster Energy drinks. All right, anyways, going back, you can kind of customize your car quite well in the painter, and you got these special colors and stuff like that, and there's other things that you can do, like let's say these mixed colors, which is the one I was currently using. You can go in and make them different colors, things like that. So I want my base color to be that color, you know, to be yellow, and then I can make my other one green, going back into that lime color. That actually looks kind of cool. I would like that today. Anyways, so yeah, you get nice little bit of customization, but what they're currently missing is decals and things like that. And you can't really do much beyond just kind of painting your car. But they do have the tuning system. Now, if you're somebody who hasn't played Forza, a lot of these features are going to be things that I kind of would normally skip over. So here's the car selection, by the way. I just wanted to go real quickly. So you get, there's quite a few decent cars in here, and I'll talk about the career mode and how you unlock these in a minute. But they don't really have the career aspect of it, as in you can't like buy new parts for your cars and things like that, which is a little bit unfortunate. I remember in Forza 4 you could get like new spoilers and bodies and things like that, which was actually a cool feature in the game, and it would affect your drift and things like that. They didn't quite do that in this one. Instead, they have a tuning setup. So this was in the other Forza games as well, and this one is very much more in-depth, it feels, than the other one. So you get all these different types of things. You can be like, oh, I want to customize this about the engine, or customize this about the aerodynamics, and you can move the car up and down, and it's supposed to visually affect it as well. And so that's kind of an interesting aspect of the game as well. We can also even go and look at the car a little bit later. Now let's talk about the career mode, because this is going to be the main content of the game and pretty much whether people want to actually get into it or not. Now, if you're in a PC market, there's not very many of these games out there, especially ones with career modes. Now, this one doesn't really have a career mode per se. Instead, it has Tours and Spotlight. Now, Spotlight is basically exactly what Tours are, but it's like added content over time, so it's not really meh. But then Tours are these set levels, and they kind of have these little cinematics when you start them up, and they give you a specific car and a specific challenge. When you go into these, they have different challenges that you want to complete during those missions or races or whatever the hell you want to call it. So for this one, Brands Hatch, which is the one I'm currently on, I haven't finished it because of time. I don't have time to finish it. These races do end up getting quite long. Like the beginning races, like these early ones was like, oh yeah, it's a 5-minute race. But then later on, it's like, oh yeah, complete 5 of these laps. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. But this one has bonus objectives like finish in first place, get 5 perfect turns, and assist, you know, make sure that simulation damage is turned on, which we can look at that a little bit later. And we'll go ahead and click on this just so it shows the little cinematic. So there's a little cinematic. I'm not going to keep going on it because of copyright. So we'll do that. And then you get to pick your car, you get to customize it and stuff like that. And you can even look at your car like quite a bit as well. Like if we go back to the main menu, we'll go ahead and look at that later. But I'll go ahead and change the color of it just because I can. I am making a video, so let's go ahead and make it light blue because that seems awesome to do. And it'll save that and you can go back to it whenever you want. Now, one of the cool features about Forza is I was talking about how you can make the driving more difficult. Yeah, the guy's going to talk. Now, one thing that does annoy me, I do want to mention this right here, is you can't skip until the guy is finished talking. Now, luckily, my loading times are longer than him talking, and so that's not necessarily a problem because, you know, he's done talking before I even load. The game has some rather long loading times, and sometimes it even crashes while loading, so I don't even know if I'm recording right now. It could just be like, nope, you're not recording anymore. So we'll see what happens. The music's still playing, and I think the thing is spinning. There it goes. Yep, it's spinning somewhat. but the game actually has a system to where you can customize your difficulty quite a bit. Now, it has the average, oh, well, we're going to change the car AI, and this actually goes from the AI being so stupid they'll literally run straight into a wall in the first turn, and then it goes to so complex that they are knocking you off the road and causing your car to spin out before you even leave the first finish line. So, or the start line, I guess is what it would be called, whatever. But, so you can actually look at your starting grid and stuff like that. It's got all the things you would expect. So you got leaderboards, you got Dravatar difficulty. Now, this is your driver difficulty. I have it on average right now because I'm about an average player right on this game, because if it ran at 60, I would probably be able to play above average, but I found that when it stutters, it kind of makes me miss drifts and things like that, and the controls go unresponsive when it stutters, which is a huge complaint I'm going to have a little bit later. But it goes all the way up to unbeatable, which is quite unbeatable. They will literally ram you off the road. And it's not even that the cars are faster. It's literally just they will kick your ass because they are better at you, better at driving than you. And you can also limit their aggression and stuff like that. So if you don't want them running you off the road, you can make them be more passive and stuff like that. And these also give RP bonuses. And you can also have the assist I was talking about, which makes your driving more difficulty. So I have suggestion lines on for braking, but you can also turn them on to full, which will be like, you should accelerate here, or you should brake here. Right now, I just have it on brake only, which will show little red lines. You got ABS, steering, and stuff like that. And all these make it kind of make the game more difficult or easier. And you get RP bonuses based on them. So I could actually turn on like, oh, my steering is assisted and stuff like that. So that will make it so that it starts turning on. You can change your shifting and stuff like that. And it actually gives RP bonuses. Now, there's also a rewind feature I'm not going to use because it crashes my game, but I'll talk about it when we get into race. When you crash and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to like rewind. So like, let's say you ran off the road, you can just rewind a little bit. My game has huge performance problems with it, and it always stutters after rewinding. I think that that's just an optimization issue that they'll probably fix in the future. So yeah, once again, we'll talk about optimization a little bit later. And then you have these other effects and stuff like that you can customize however you want. And they do have presets as well. I'm not going to use those presets because I don't want to screw up my stuff. And you can also practice race if you want to. Now, one thing about this RP, you'll notice that there's a bunch of RP values on the right side for my objectives. Now, the campaign or story mode / career mode, whatever you want to call it, tours is what they call it, but there's also the spotlight that uses the same system. Now, depending on the amount of race points that you get, oh, here, there is the cockpit view. You can use the cockpit view as well. It actually looks quite pretty. I should switch to it. How do I do that? There we go. So, yeah, you can't look around, which is super frustrating, but you do get this view right here. And you can notice the mirror is lagging like hell too. Another performance issue. Go back to this one. Ram you off the road. So yeah, the way the campaign works is you get these RP points and then you get medals, and your medals are how you unlock cars. So once you get a certain amount of medals, it will unlock another car. Now in the future, they'll probably add like DLC packs and things like that. And you can actually, right now, you can actually purchase cars, as in you can like unlock them early, and it's like $1 or something like that. So it's like, oh, you want this car early, you know, without unlocking all these medals? Sure, pay $1. And then it's like, okay, cool. That's not too expensive, but still, I probably wouldn't suggest it, especially at the state this game is in. And overall, I actually enjoy the gameplay of it. It is a very, very solid racer. It is actually pretty decent. Keyboard controls suck. Everything has mouse support, and you can even drive with the mouse, which is super weird. You can use the left and right mouse click as you're turning left and right, and then your middle mouse is acceleration. I tried it when I was talking in a kind of like with from friends after I recorded a podcast. The Classy Cast that I also do videos with will have a podcast that we talk about this game for a little bit on, and that's actually what got me to try the game out. You can actually customize the controls and stuff like that quite a bit, which we can actually go ahead and look into that stuff, and we'll get into kind of performance. But I do want to mention that I do like the gameplay quite a bit, and it is quite solid. The problem with it right now is its optimization and the fact that it doesn't support multiple resolutions. As in, I was talking about how I'm playing in window mode, and you'd be like, oh, well, that means there would just be a, you know, white bar at the top or something like that, depending on your Windows 10 color. You do have to be on Windows 10 to play it, by the way. It is not on others, so you do have to be on Windows 10. I probably should have mentioned that pretty early, but whatever. People have said I should probably mention it. But yeah, so basically, let's go ahead and go in here. Now, one thing I did talk about was the input. You can rebind everything. So the controller can't be rebound, which sucks, but you can rebind everything on the keyboard, and they have, you know, different kind of bindings already preset for you, and you can customize them if you wish to. And you do that by using the menu button on the Xbox One controller, and then you can just do whatever, and it gives you the custom layout for that. One thing that is annoying when I do that is I actually have to go back, but here's the custom thing. You can also, I think you can make a new controller. There we go. We can actually make a new controller. And so you can be like, oh, I want the down on D-pad to be my gas button for some random reason. And no, I don't want to save that because that would be terrible. But you can do that. And so that's actually pretty nice. I don't see that very often, and I didn't even realize that that actually had a controller option. So you can actually rebind the controller as well, which is super awesome. The problem with the controller is that currently it only supports Xbox 360 and Xbox One controllers or certain emulators that will emulate those effects. Now, for my Xbox One controller, I actually had to update the driver to the newest driver, and it does use the haptic feedback on the triggers and stuff like that, which feels super weird to feel it in a game for the very first time because I'm a PC gamer. They don't use that in these games. But regardless, it actually works perfectly fine, and it feels like I'm playing on a console, which is going to be either a good thing or a bad thing for certain people because racing wheels don't work at the moment, and that's going to be a huge thing for a lot of people. Now, you can also customize the HUD as well for quite a bit of stuff. You can actually just turn everything on the HUD completely off, which is actually pretty nice. And then you can keybind, I believe you can keybind a button to make the HUD appear too. So there's actually quite a bit of HUD, customization there. And one thing that I would mention right off the bat on this audio settings is that you probably want to go in here and go to quality and put it on high, unless you want that really crappy Xbox One and PS3 kind of clipping that they always have in audio, because they have, all the way down to minimum quality audio, which sounds absolutely terrible. And then once I turned it on high, it started me off medium, which is about console quality. But when I turned it on high, it actually started sounding good. I'm like, oh, hey, this is what I bought my speakers for, and that's kind of nice. So, and you can turn off the other music. Now, I would like to see more volume sliders. There's only one right now. I'm not going to bang it too much because it is beta. And then you also get quite a bit of video settings. Now, I have to run it on basically medium quality and a few customized things here and there because the game is very terribly optimized. It does not run very, very well. Now, granted, I'm only running a GTX 660 and I only have 8 gigs of RAM to kind of run it off, and it is kind of capping out my GPU memory, which is actually the main problem with the game, is it uses a ton of memory, and it says it needs 6 gigs to run all the way on Ultra, which is ridiculous, and it won't even let me try to run higher because the game will either crash or it just won't even let me. Like, if I go up and try to make it higher, I'll be like, oh, you don't have enough memory, and it's like, okay, cool, awesome. And then I'll have to cancel that because obviously I don't want to change my settings. But yeah, it actually has a decent amount of settings though. Like, I do have to give them credit where credit is due. They do have a decent amount of selection of kind of settings, and you can actually have your performance targets. Now, I believe the game is locked at either 30 or 60 depending on your thing, and they do incorporate this for VSync, which was actually just in this morning's update, which is kind of nice. I have it just on 60 FPS because I'm in windowed mode. Why would I have VSync on in windowed mode? And even then, I think I'd probably have it off just because it would help with that stuttering a bit. And one interesting thing about here is you can't actually turn off MSAA. You can turn it to dynamic, which is actually another thing, but you can't actually turn off the anti-aliasing. Now, one thing that is kind of cool, but also has a bunch of technical issues, is dynamic settings. This is actually a really cool feature that you've seen in some games. There's been very, very few that have it, but this is a really interesting feature where it will dynamically change settings kind of suggested by the system to kind of adjust settings live while you're playing to actually make the game perform at your target, so your performance target. So I don't know if the game actually goes above 60 or not. It might or might not. I assume it's probably capped to 60 because that's just how these games go. But it will actually try to get at least 60 FPS and it will lower settings. Now, my problem with it is that it will stutter when it changes settings. Like, let's say texture quality, it'll drop texture quality, and so the texture will have to reload, which causes it to stutter, and then it'll be like, oh, well, now we need to change everything else and like lower everything else, and then the game looks like absolute crap for a little bit, and then it's like, oh, hey, you're running this game at 120 FPS, let's go ahead and go back up, and then it'll like try to load higher textures, and it'll stutter, and it'll go back and forth over and over again. A lot of people have also found issues with like kind of memory problems with it. Like, the game had a huge memory leak when I first started playing, and to fix that, I just turned off everything that was dynamic. And so you can turn it off. I have it, dynamic optimization is on custom, and it allows me to customize all of my settings. Now, you can turn dynamic optimization onto a certain setting, and then you can't really customize anything, but it is kind of nice to have. And once they get the game more optimized, that will actually be a really, really cool feature, and I will love it, because when I'm playing a racing game, I want to play at 60 FPS. You also have a photo mode, which is probably going to crash my game. Oh, there it goes. Sweet. So the FPS when I'm in photo mode is absolutely terrible because it tries to do all these neat effects. But you actually have a photo mode and you can go around and you can view the audience, which higher quality than most, but it keeps trying to get that depth of field on that fence, which is super frustrating. But, you know, anyways, that's kind of that. So visually, what does the game look like, and what is my conclusion? So visually right now, when I've seen it running at high and stuff like that, and even on medium settings, like medium settings I think is about where the console was. Maybe the console was a little bit higher than this. I think the texture quality was slightly higher, and I think it runs at 60 on console, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I know that the developer in the past was very hesitant to run at 30. They did not want to run the game at 30 because it's a racing game, and it really does have a huge effect on your feel. Like, I can feel when the game is running at 30 and 60. Like, right now it's running at 30 and stuttering every once in a while, and you can really, really feel it. But if I drop the settings and get it up to 60, and I'm not recording, like, if I record, it stutters no matter what. So there's really nothing I can do right now. But if I'm not recording and I get everything to run at 60, you know, you can really, really feel it. And the game feels great. And it sounds pretty good. I will say that some of the crashing and stuff like that has a very, like, sharp sound to it, which I don't think it should. And I've noticed that that's just a thing with audio effects that they've been putting in console games recently. They're like, oh, it's immersive. And, like, that's why I immediately suggest to go into the settings and turn on high audio quality, because it will peak the game's, like, sound quality very, very quickly, which is quite frustrating. And so that is a thing to be aware of. But overall, I'm actually enjoying the hell out of it. I do wish it did have a career mode. And so my overall kind of conclusion is kind of mixed, because I like the gameplay. The gameplay is awesome. The performance sucks, but I'm not really going to hammer it too much because it is beta, and I assume that will get better as it goes, and my hardware is starting to get outdated, so it makes sense that I can't run it on the highest setting possible. I'm not expecting to do that on new games anymore. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. And if you're running really, really weak hardware, you might not even be able to play the game given the memory requirements. Like, I'm running on medium, and I have 2 gigs of video memory, and it's already telling me, like, hey, you might run out of video memory. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I had to drop my texture settings, which I've never had to do in a game before now. So that's a thing to be aware of. But overall, the game's pretty nice. I wish I had a career mode. And I wish there was more car customization. Like, let's say you could switch out parts and things like that, which was a very big feature in a lot of the Forza games that I played. Now, I haven't kept up with the series. I think Forza 4 was the last one that I really played to a good extent. I don't remember if 5 was the one that was on Xbox One first or not. I don't remember. It was the last one that was on 360, and that's the one that I played recently. And I love that game, and I love the career mode. Although this new mode isn't necessarily bad, it's just different. I do like the fact that it gives you a bunch of cars right off the bat that you can race with. And you can just go into a race and play the game. And to unlock stuff, it actually makes you kind of challenge yourself. Instead of just repeating a race over and over again for credits just to buy a new car, you can just be like, nah, I need to go through this and just get first place and kick ass. And then I get some medals, and then it unlocks me cars. Now, the negative part to this is you can't really choose what car you want to unlock. And so there's no, like, oh, pick and choose, like, which was really the simulation part for me. It was like, okay, I want to do races with this type of car. And so I would pick that type of car so that I could do those challenges. And challenges are kind of limited right now, seeing as it's in beta and everything. I'm not really going to hammer it too much on that. And they do plan on, like, continuously updating the game. But overall, like, it's a pretty decent game for what it is. Like, if it performed better, I would recommend it. Right now, I don't really recommend it because the optimization just isn't there to really make the game that enjoyable. If you're really dying to play a racing game and you really want to try Forza on PC, then go for it. Just don't expect to run the game well, because there are people with quite amazing hardware and they're having problems running this game. And the resolution is also locked. And I don't know if I clearly stated that or not, but it seems like the game is stuck as 16:9. Maybe it has 16:10 support and stuff like that. I just know that when I run it in window mode, it causes black borders. And if I change it to any other resolution, it sticks by 16:9. And people are complaining that it doesn't have ultra-wide support, which sounds ridiculous to me, because the racing genre was basically what spawned the need for that in gaming. It was like, if you get an ultra wide, you can look out both windows, and that is a freaking cool feature. And that's one thing that really makes the cockpit view actually enjoyable to play. Like, after seeing that type of stuff, playing in this cockpit view is terrible, because, like, I can't see to the left and right of me, and if I look to the left with my thumbsticks, it just instantly goes out the window, which is not not a good solution. But if you don't mind this type of view, then I guess it's okay. I would like to be able to look left and right just a little bit to kind of go. But the cockpit does look beautiful. I do have to say that much, which actually brings me into, before we close this video, let's go ahead and exit this race. I'm in second place too. I could keep racing and actually get some medals, but whatever. I'll do it later on my free time. But regardless, you know, the game is actually pretty good. And you're able to do quite a bit. You also have replays and stuff like that. I don't recommend using the replay system, which actually goes through the Xbox app, and it uses the game DVR. If you have DVR turned off, it doesn't work. I have it turned off because it is a huge performance hog. So if you're actually playing this game and you're having performance issues, turn off game DVR, and that will probably help you quite a bit. I found that like some people were having issues with it crashing the game and stuff like that, and after they closed that out, it stopped doing that. So anyways, let's go ahead and go to the Forza Vista, which was actually where we get to look at our car and stuff like that. And we can go into photo mode, and we can explode, and we can open up all their windows and stuff like that. And you can actually go through and be like, oh, let's go ahead and, oh, let's explode. Okay, whatever. Go ahead and open doors, and we can walk into our car and look at it and be like, oh, this is shiny. And every car has this, which is kind of cool, which maybe this is why you can't actually, you know, explore different parts and things like that on the vehicle and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and go in here. You can actually even pop the hood. So this is what I was talking about, as in this is probably why you can't, you know, customize the parts on the car and stuff like that. But, you know, it's a cool feature. It's completely useless. There is absolutely no purpose for this to be here. It is all for show, but it's something I thought I'd show regardless, because it's kind of cool to just look at the cars and kind of roam around. You actually have different vistas too. There's two currently vistas. Where do I customize that? I think that's in my driver record. But yeah, they have different vistas and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. Change badge. Change home space. Is that it? Yes, so they actually have another home space that will load our vehicle. So yeah, my final conclusion on this game, I don't necessarily recommend it quite yet. I've talked some praise to it, aside from the performance and stuff like that, because it is a good game. Like, it races like I would expect from a Forza game. It's nothing excitingly new, but on PC, we don't have a lot of this. And so this is something very, very exciting, especially since Microsoft is finally bringing out, you know, the Forza game that was originally a console exclusive onto PC, to where it can really start to shine. But there's a lot of technical problems kind of holding it back right now. Let's go ahead and see if we can turn on the lights of this one. I like turning on the lights for some reason. Oh, that's just going to give us a view. Where's the light? There it is. Woo! Ha! We turned on the headlights. Absolutely no purpose to that whatsoever, but it is kind of nice regardless. So yeah, like, it's got a bunch of technical problems. If they fix the technical problems, it will probably be way worth it. But I am scared a little bit that they might not be able to, and the game is a huge resource hog. And so it's going to take some time to actually, you know, get the game to where it needs to be, and it is missing content. It only has about 12 tracks, but it also has weather variations and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I said I was going to try and load up one with rain before I ended this video. Let's go ahead and go to free play real quick, and I'll load up one of those while I am talking about my conclusion. So yeah, optimization, quite not there. But once the optimization gets there, it is a hugely promising game. It is probably one of the better games that we'll have on PC, and it is definitely one that I've been looking forward to. Oh yeah, here's the custom races as well. You can go to free play. Here's all the tracks and stuff like that. So you can go to, these are areas, and so you can actually look at all the areas and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and load up this one. I've done that track before, so that will be easy. You can customize your assist to your car and do your tuning and stuff like that. And you can actually customize how many racers are on there. So let's say I want to go down and I'll be like 0, and then I'll just do 1 lap and go ahead and accept. That way I'm by myself. Maybe it won't take as long to load that way. Yeah, loading times are long, you know, the technical side is a nightmare. But the gameplay is pretty satisfactory. I would say it is actually really good. Now, you know, there aren't very many competitors. And so, once again, I don't really know what to say on that front. And weather racing is actually pretty cool. I was talking about how you can hydroplane, which is one of the most scary features of this game, especially if you're in cockpit view, because I've actually been on a highway and hydroplane before, and it was scary because we couldn't turn, and that was terrifying for me. So that's a little bit personal there, but, you know, it is a thing regardless. And, you know, the weather and stuff like that actually affects your physics. Now, I have all the assists on, so I'm just revving up when realistically, you wouldn't be able to do that. But it sounds cool and stuff like that, and, you know, there's my brake lines telling me to slow down. I'm like, nope, I don't want to slow down because I like going fast. And the game can actually be played pretty arcadey when you turn on... Well, Jesus Christ, there was some water, so there we go. It, like, hit my car pretty hard. So, yeah, as a conclusion, pretty good game. Not really ready yet because of the optimization, but if it is a game, it is currently free to play in the beta form, so you can actually just go check it out. I don't know if release is actually going to be money or not, and I'm going to splash some water. Splash, splash, splash. I do like it. That did not feel good. My controller is rumbling like crazy, so... Yeah, anyways, this has been Michael with an early impressions of Forza Motorsport 6 Apex Edition on PC, and I'm going to crash into this wall. Jesus Christ. That would be terrifying. I don't have damage on, and so my car is actually, it's like perfectly fine. Whatever. Whatever, nobody cares. But yeah, so Forza Motorsport 6 Apex Edition. It is a simulation racing game, and it is actually looking quite promising. Once the technical issues get fixed, it will be an awesome and amazing game. I will probably play quite a bit of, especially since there's not much competition. Now, I do hope that in the future they end up bringing other Forza Motorsports games, you know, more attuned to, you know, the PC. Like, let's say Forza Horizon 2, I think is the next one. Come on, guys, bring that to PC, please. You know, with full, you know, resolution supports and an actual full career mode, because I really did enjoy that career mode, although I don't really know how Horizon works because I didn't play the first Horizon, so I don't even know if it's going to have a career mode, but whatever. Anyways, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for videos like this one, and make sure to leave in the comments your thoughts on the game and your thoughts on my commentary and how I'm doing. And obviously, I want to, you know, if you do end up trying the game out, make sure to leave in the comments, you know, what you thought of it. You know, do you think that my assessment is alright? Do you think the game sucks? Do you think that Microsoft should go back into the hole and bring it back on console? You know, that's the deal. I would like to see them on PC because I have nostalgia for, a little bit of nostalgia for Forza, I guess. Not that much. I'm not really a loyalist or anything like that for the series, but it is a thing, and holy crap, I'm going fast on water. This would not be nice and safe. So yeah, that's kind of me for this video. It's pretty awesome game, and I've been enjoying it. Even with the performance issues, it's nice to go back and play a racing game. Even though it isn't kind of feature complete and all that, it is a nice game to play. And it's a simulation racing game that I haven't played in a long time. And I came in first because I was literally the only racer. Thanks, game. I came in first place, guys. I won. That was me. So yeah, then we'll go ahead and view the racing results. Yeah, look at that. I beat all of those racers. Anyways, see you guys in the next video.